Pay attention, there will be questions. And I do have a giant block of chocolate to give away at the end, so it's well worth it. So as you can see, my slide talk today is on how to choose an agency and avoid the coming zombie apocalypse. It's the last session on the last day, and I thought I'd just add some fun in there because you know what? If the zombie apocalypse ever comes, you will be equipped to handle it. So the first thing, how to start. I thought for how to start, how to kill a zombie is the most important thing to know, as well as how to choose an agency and the things that you need to know about choosing an agency. This is a very simple, easy to follow guide on how to kill a zombie, and also some really easy points on how to get started on choosing an agency. One of the most important things on choosing an agency is somebody really needs to own the process. So whether you're a one-man band or you're a fleet of 250 people in an office somewhere in the City of London, you need to be able to answer these questions. Sometimes the expectations that I see from clients on what an agency can do are far higher than what can be achieved for the budget that they're looking at. And sometimes things go terribly wrong because there's no one inside that company who's willing to own any sort of relationship with the agency. They're just afraid, or they're avoiding it, or people keep changing, or they change their minds or whatever, or they keep changing what it is that they want. They have no idea. They keep going all over the place. So you need to clearly identify what your goals are, what you hope to get out of hiring an agency, and you need to make sure that you understand what you're going in there for. What do you hope to get out of the relationship? It's the same things that you should be asking yourself before you get involved in social media. Do you know what you hope to get out of it in the end? If you do, and there's somebody internally who can champion it, and you know how much money you've got to spend, go for it. If you don't, or you can't answer these questions, hold off for a little bit, answer these questions first, and then move forward with your agency selection. Now, guarantees. All the time, the one thing that you can guarantee is if you get bitten by a zombie, you'll become a zombie. So at that point, just give up. But there are a lot of agencies who pitch themselves on having a guarantee. They will guarantee you a top position in Google. They will guarantee you placement in Google. They will guarantee that they have a relationship, a special relationship with Google, Yahoo, Bing, etc., or something like that. There are no guarantees that are really legitimate in natural search for a white hat or somebody who's working on the up and up who won't pose any sort of problem to your brand. For SEO. For PPC, you can talk about what you can get for the budget that you're actually spending, and there might be guarantees available in there. But even in PPC, it's difficult because the goalposts are constantly changing. And in SEO, there are 400 to 650 changes to the algorithm every single year, which means that including weekends, we're looking at least 1 or 2 changes a day. So it's really hard to give a guarantee. And if an agency is offering you a guarantee, definitely consider that a red flag. So if they're saying we guarantee to get you to the top of Google, maybe look somewhere else. And apologies to any of the agencies in here who are saying, shit, I just printed up 10,000 flyers that said that. Social media exposure and fans are no guarantees of conversion. Just because they can guarantee to get you 10,000 Facebook friends and they can guarantee to get you 100,000 followers on Twitter does not mean really anything. It just means that they can spam and that they have a lot of robot accounts. And yes, no matter what your agency says to you, in the UK, and quite possibly in the EU as well, the Disability Discriminations Act does matter. You have to be able to access a site, flash sites, or sites with no alt attributes and no sort of way to navigate your way through it if you're a robot or a screen reader is an issue. So watch out for agencies that are trying to play a little bit fast and loose, that offer guarantees, especially guarantees that have no genuine ROI. So what is possible then? What is actually possible? I've said a lot about what's not possible. guarantees are not possible, things like that. But what is actually possible? Now, in the zombie handbook here, you'll be able to see that there are a number of ways to kill a zombie. So when the zombie apocalypse comes, you'll know the various different implements you'll need, perhaps a golf umbrella or some other implement to bat the head off a zombie or something like that. That is possible to then destroy the zombie and save yourself. But what is possible from an agency point of view? What can they suggest doing for you in order to improve your site? Beating it over the head with a baseball bat is not appropriate for a website, only for a zombie. They can do a lot of analysis on your site. They should be transparent about what they're doing to your site and what they're doing for your site. The way that websites are built, unless they're built in Flash or JavaScript, which of course are virtually invisible to most search engines at the moment, while we can spider Flash through Google, it doesn't necessarily mean it will be appropriately ranked because Flash files are not always formatted in the way that they need to be. They can do a lot of auditing, they can do an analysis, they can do vertical analysis, SWOT, gap analyses, they can look at what keywords each page is targeted for, inbound links, outbound links, value of inbound links, value of pages, etc., etc. There's a lot of things that an agency can do for you and that they can help you with. They can help you with if you need to have your outbound links cloaked. They can help you with a whole host of things. There are a number of things that are possible that your agency can do for you and can be transparent about and that you can check up on. So there are ways for you to check up on, for instance, link building, if they're actually building links for you. There are ways that you can check up on their on-site analysis, on their on-site optimization. Are they actually changing anything? Benchmarking, things like that. Now, linking is great, and creating links is great, but one of the things that those people who guarantee top positions do is use link farms. Now, zombie farms are very interesting, and actually it turns out there's a game called Zombie Farm. So you can farm and create your own zombies, and then you can invade. But link farms are not actually great. Sometimes, in certain circumstances, the link farms have been built to such a degree that they're actually very good, and they can be leveraged quite effectively. But you want to be calling on professionals to do that for you. You don't want to go out, create 10,000 sites, scrape content, and think you have a link farm, because that's not the way it works. It's not that easy. It's much more complicated. If you build, as was said in an earlier session, if you build too many links too quickly, it can result in a penalty. Because if you go into Google right now, if I close my eyes, it's because I'm trying to remember, and go into real-time search. Now, it's down on the left-hand side, close to the bottom. Click on real-time, put in your site, and it'll come up with real-time search results. Now add link, L-I-N-K, colon, and leave your web URL at the end. No spaces, link, colon, your URL. Don't put http//, just www.whatever. And it will show you the real-time link building profile for that URL. Now think about it. If Google can show that to you now, it's been able to see that for quite a while. And that means it knows exactly what a normal organic link building profile for your site looks like. So if you go off and buy a whole bunch of links, guess what that looks like? It's a very interesting exercise to do, to go in and look at what looks normal for your site. You will get a penalty. You will be, at the very minimum, flagged for manual review. At the worst, you will be given an automatic penalty. This link building, the last point, requires a really expert hand. So if you want to build massive amounts of links and quickly, talk to a professional. Don't try to do it yourself. Don't go off and buy a bunch of links or hire somebody who's going to guarantee you a top position for 200 quid a month. Give it to somebody who's going to actually charge you a lot of money and is going to be transparent about, to a certain extent, exactly how they're going to do it. Now, checking an agency out is probably one of the biggest questions that I get asked. How in the world are you going to figure out who is actually any good? Now, most zombies are going to carry the zombie disease, and so getting bitten by a zombie, it's always a bad thing, and getting bitten by an agency is also always a bad thing. Now, there are a lot of agencies out there that help to regulate the industry, but we don't have something like you have for lawyers or accountants. We have SEMPO, which is one of the organizations. We have the IAB here, the Internet Advertising Bureau. They all work together to help to try to create a database of people that are legitimate. And theoretically, you can get kicked out if you're not doing things appropriately and it's shown to not be an appropriate agency relationship. But unfortunately, right now, we don't have an industry body that if you get kicked out of, it actually means something. Like if you get debarred as a lawyer, that's it. You can't practice law anymore. There's no equivalent for SEOs. We're still working on that. It's a very young industry. But you can check with the IAB. You can also check Google AdWords certification for agencies. You can actually check with SEMPO. You can do searches on domain names. I don't know if anybody here is familiar with a recent story in the news about, in the States, a guy who was selling designer frames, designer glasses frames. And he said that all the negative press that he got actually helped him rank more highly for designer frames. I don't know if anybody knows this story, but if you can check it out online. And he was saying that every time somebody gave him a negative review, it helped his site rank higher. But the reason why people kept buying stuff off of him is because they would see the non-branded results and they would see his website come up in non-branded results. What they weren't doing is that next step of due diligence, and that is doing a search on the name of the brand itself. So it's easy to forget this step, but due diligence. You need to check in social media and also on the internet in general. So go to real-time search again. Use Google, use Yahoo, use Bing, use Yandex if you're in Russia or that area. Use Baidu if you're working in China. Use whatever the local search engine is, Naver if you need to. Wherever you are and you're looking at an agency, do a search on their name. Because if there's been bad stuff, and there's a lot of bad stuff, you need to really look through and see whether or not you feel comfortable still going with that agency. That's your due diligence. And also, it's not wrong to ask an agency about things like professional indemnity insurance. If something goes wrong and you lose your livelihood, and that's it, you've lost your site because of what your agency did. That's what professional indemnity insurance is for. And if you're not then protected from your rest of your life loss of earnings, then you've lost everything and you have no recourse. There's also years in business, company turnover. Those are standard questions that are asked by larger companies of agencies. Do not be afraid of asking them of the people that you're looking to hire. If it's a one-man band and they've been in business for less than a year, then they should be transparent about disclosing that. If for some reason they don't disclose that, or they're cagey about it, or they then challenge you on what right you have to ask those questions, don't go with them. That's a big red flag. What can you do if they screw up? So, you know, you've gone through your questions. Maybe you've skipped some. Maybe you've gone with somebody who guaranteed you a top ranking, and they've screwed up, and you've lost everything. Your website's blacklisted. All of your IPs are blacklisted. All of your other websites are blacklisted. You've lost everything. What can you do? Are you sure that it was actually a result of agency involvement? Have you benchmarked before? Like, have you checked on what everything looked like before? Have you checked your code after? Have you checked your web rankings before, your web rankings after? Link profile before, link profile after. All of these things are things you can check. Majestic SEO, you can put it so that you can take a look at your own site links. There are all sorts of tools out there that you can use that are either free if you put them on your own site and analyze your own site, or you can pay to look more widely. But for your own site, keep an eye on your own site. Google Webmaster Tools, free. Google Analytics, free. There's all sorts of free tools out there for you to use, for you to keep an eye on what's happening to your site, so that if you do hire an agency, you still see what's going on. If you can actually track it back to changes that the agency made, that's what professional indemnity insurance is for. Because at that point, you need to start speaking to a lawyer. If somebody has taken your money and walked off with it, that's fraud, or something similar to it. I'm not a lawyer. I may not use technically correct terms. And my dad just shed a tear. My dad's a lawyer. He wanted me to be a lawyer. And every time I say that, I'm sure somewhere out there my dad sort of feels a tear trickle down his cheek and wonders why. But yes, Please don't be afraid if somebody takes 10,000 pounds of your money and walks away and never does anything for you to involve other authorities. But if you've done your due diligence, make sure that you're getting the information back from the agency to say what they're doing. And that's what your expectations are. So what should you expect from an agency? Now, when your agency man comes to your office, hopefully not looking too much like this, but hopefully looking a little bit more alive, a little less hungover. That's one hungover zombie. What should you expect to get from them? Now, a lot of times people say that SEO is very, cloak and dagger, very black hat, very hacking websites and doing naughty things. That's not the way your agency should be working for you. Your agency should be working for you on the up and up. It should be transparent, and as much as possible, they should disclose to you exactly what they're doing. If you don't feel comfortable with what they're doing, call them up on it. You're paying them money to help your site to improve your ROI. You're not paying them to play fast and loose with your domain because they don't want to take risks with their own. So what can you expect? You can expect for the agency to tell you what they're going to do. I know this seems really basic, but sometimes this is the one step that is completely missed out. What can you expect the agency to do for you? What are they doing for that 20 grand? What are they doing for that 50 grand? What are they even doing for that 1,000 pounds that you've decided that you want to spend with them? What is it that you're going to get out at the end? You should be getting something. It should be not ethereal. It shouldn't be something that you can't put your fingers on. You should get something hard. If it's links, you should still see a difference in your link profile from before to after. So you know what you're going to get out of it. Know what reports you can expect. Get samples. The data can be anonymized. A good agency will have some anonymized or some throwaway reports that they can give you. I always use chocolate as an example. And you could do an analysis on a chocolate site that you're not working for, and then use that as an example to show what you get in a report. Because you really should be getting information about what's been done, what improvements happened, and what's coming up. There shouldn't be some sort of cloak and dagger thing happening here. It should be transparent, and as much as possible, they should be disclosing what they're doing for you at every stage. They may not be able to say exactly what suite of websites they're using to syndicate your articles and how many different articles they've created for you, but they should be able to say, we spent 10 hours on article generation. Here is a report of the visible articles that have made an impact in the search engines. Here are the URLs you can see them at, and you can go and check them for yourself. Don't trust your agency. I'm an agency person. I work in an agency, and I'm saying to you, don't trust them. Don't take what they say as read. When they give you a report, double check it. If they say that they built 10,000 links for you and that they're all registered and they're all live, well, you should have your benchmark link report check to see if your figures show 10,000 more. Now, granted, Google is very good at obfuscating information, and it means you shouldn't use that as a report check, but you can use a Majestic SEO. You can use Google Webmaster Tools. There are other free tools out there that you can use to check your site's information. Don't just take it as read. Analytics reports, one of the things that made me see red recently was a woman in the audience that I was speaking at a conference said, the reports that you put up on the screen for Google Analytics, they're identical to the reports that my agency is sending me, and they're charging me every month for the analytics. There's nothing that they give me extra. There's no insight. There's no written words. There's just this report that you've shown, and you just said Google Analytics was free. But my agency is charging me every month. Now, there's no insight that's being added there. There's no information. There's no added benefit that they're bringing. And they're just charging for Google Analytics as though it's a chargeable product. If an agency is saying that they're using something for you, and they're doing something like analytics reports, there should be some sort of insight added to it, especially if they're using a free analytics tool or the one that you're paying for. There shouldn't be an added charge for something that's free. Even if they put it in there for you, they can put the charge for putting the code in, but it's not an ongoing charge. Google Analytics, I'd like to reemphasize, is free. There is no charge for Google Analytics. there should be some sort of information that's coming out of your agency and that's being given to you. And you should be able to understand it. If it's written in deliberately opaque language, ask them to clarify. Don't be afraid to call them up and call them out on anything that you don't understand. Any agency, big or small, one-man band or 250 people or more, local or global, will be able to answer questions about their reports, or should be able to answer questions about their reports, and should be able to give you additional insight and information if you need it. Don't be afraid to challenge your agency. And always be aware that just because something looks really, really hot and sexy doesn't mean it's not carrying an infectious disease or is not going to damage you. Zombies damage you. You get bitten by a zombie, that's it. You're a zombie. That's damage. And just because something looks hot and sexy doesn't mean that it actually is going to work perfectly for you. Don't be afraid to challenge. If it's a zombie, remember, baseball bats are really, really good, but sawed-off shotguns often are quite effective at removing the head. If it's an agency, maybe don't go down that route, but do challenge. Don't let them just steamroller you. Don't let them just blind you with smoke and mirrors and puffy flashes of light. Always make sure that you understand what you're getting, you understand what money you're putting in for what you're getting out, and you understand that, it's your right to ask questions. It's your right to call your agency up and say, I need you to explain this to me. It's not for them to say, oh, you know what, it's not something you'll understand. It's for them to explain it to you until you understand it. Don't be afraid to check up on your agency. You shouldn't trust your agency blindly. Check up on them. After a while of doing this, you'll develop a trust, I'm sure, but in the beginning, you really need to understand what's happening and what's going on both sides of the equation. So don't be afraid to ask questions. And don't be afraid to ask other agencies where you might know people, or you might see me or somebody else at a conference, Nicola, or anybody at a conference. Don't be afraid of going up to another speaker at another agency and asking them about something your agency said if you're still not happy. There's nothing wrong with doing that and checking with someone else. It's not bad, it's not against the rules, and it's not going to get you kicked out of the agency relationship. It's good and it's healthy to question things. And that's it. I know that, sometimes when the zombie apocalypse comes and you're running for your life, you'll think back to these slides and you'll remember baseball bat or sawed-off shotgun. But hopefully also when you're sitting across from a potential agency, you'll remember that you can ask questions and you don't have to be afraid about it. So, questions? I do have a question for you guys. For the person who gives me the right answer, chocolate, and I have more chocolate to give away, but this is the big prize. Can anybody tell me from the first zombie slide what the method for killing the zombie in the second panel was?
Aim for the head.
Well done.
See, you were paying attention. When the zombie apocalypse comes, you'll be saved.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure the last zombie was hot.
Well, to some people, she
for
might
a
have
zombie, she was pretty cute, but I'm still not. Yeah, she was. Hey, you guys should hang out. Judith, thanks. I'm scared to death of agencies. That's why I have some of the most poorly SEO'd sites probably in existence. However, can you hire a second agency to verify your first agency?
I have actually been hired as a second agency to review the work of a first agency. So yes, it is actually not uncommon for an agency to be hired to check on the work of another agency.
Do you have some questions from the audience? Has anyone here hired a second agency to work with their first agency or verify their first agency? You've been hired as a second agency, of course.
We've come in before after other people have ruined something and read audits and looked at backlink profiles, and yeah, you see some horrifying work out there. So, it would have been better for the client if they'd gotten another agency while the first one were doing the damage, so it could have been cut short.
Yeah, definitely. And remember, questions mean chocolate, and there's a lot in here.
You love chocolate.
Questions mean chocolate. Questions? I'll do it for you, just because you're cute. Okay, so anybody have a question about choosing an agency or the coming zombie apocalypse? I'll take questions on either.
Why do you like zombies? Why zombies? I've been thinking this all day. Everyone must have been thinking this.
It's like Pavlov. Why zombies? You've got a genuine question. Why zombies? I don't know. Just because I think right now we're going through a time of awareness of zombies through both television commercials and popular media.
Fantastic. I would have gone with vampires. They're big right now.
Vampires are big too.
Any other questions?
Do you want to?
Yep.
Do you want another chocolate?
No, thanks. I'm good. But I was just wondering if, like, the payment structure that an SEO company works is like a black flag or red flag for whether or not you should use them. Because I noticed some advertise as sort of like a monthly flat fee, but then you kind of ask them questions like, how many hours a month do you get out of that? And they don't seem to answer them.
Yeah, I would say that if they can't answer the question, then it's a black flag or a red flag. I work on an hourly basis. A lot of agencies I know work on an hourly basis. Some of them work on a flat fee. But if I've got a site of 2,000 pages in a pharmaceutical vertical, and you've got a site that has 20,000 pages in an e-commerce vertical, how is it that we can both be charged the same per month? Each of those sites is going to need different work. It's going to need a different amount of work, and it's going to need a different amount of emphasis each month. So if they can't tell you how much you're getting for your money or what you're getting for your money, it's a definite red flag. Just because they go with a structured payment schedule doesn't mean that it's a red flag. If they can't tell you what you're getting each month, then yes, and if they have a one-size-fits-all, then probably.
Thanks, Judith. From an agency perspective on that, I found sometimes, we'll say, well, look, you've got us for X amount of money a month, and that's X number of days, hours, however you've just structured it in the contract. And, you do the best that you can, and you deliver site audits, and you check on what they're doing on a daily basis. But sometimes you really wish that they'd use you more. And there are people who, they'll call you after they've done something, and they'll say, oh, hey, we just put out this as a PDF, and we gave it to every news site in the UK. And you think, why the hell isn't it on an HTML page so they could link to it, and why the hell didn't you come to me first? And so I guess, when you've got someone there, you're not just paying them to come to you. It does go both ways. We know we have to come to you, but we're here for your benefit, because we're both going to benefit in the end if you use us as much as we go to you and say, hey, change this, fix that.
Yeah, I guess the overriding message is don't be afraid to call your agency. Yeah, email your agency, phone them, tweet them. Twitter, very, innocent, inobtrusive questions can go across in 140 characters.
I've got my mobile phone number on my business card so that they'll call me.
Yeah, so, mobile phone numbers, text as well. If you don't feel comfortable calling, they can text on a mobile phone number. So,
send a letter.
Content.
Send a letter.
Yeah, send a letter. My gosh, nobody sends letters anymore. Or a
telegraph. We're just naming ways to contact people, really. I think I have another question. No, one of my most feared problems with any agency that I would ever consider hiring would be that they'd be buying me some dodgy links, and I'd get caught with those dodgy links. Then obviously you'd go and you fire your agency. But what steps can be taken after that? Are you dead forever, and school is going to throw you off forever, or what do you do next?
I've actually been asked questions like this far too frequently. Once it's happened, and once it's done, and once you've actually had a penalty assigned against a site, sometimes in Google Webmaster Tools there'll be a message that will give you some indication, usually not. And if it is, it's often ironically obfuscated. The email from Google won't necessarily say, we've caught you buying links. If you undo the damage that has been done quickly enough, sometimes you will get back in, but sometimes if they deem that the behavior's been going on for long enough, it could be longer lasting. It's not always permanent.
Yeah, I've as a real example, I know a site that fired their SEOs, and the company they were using for SEO, and a very big Hollywood name site, and basically fell off of any type of ranking for 6 months, and ranked poorly for another year. So it's kind of scary.
Sorry, I'm like taking I'm always surprised at how many people come to me, because I do some work in an SEO Q&A forum, and people will come and they'll ask questions about links that have been built, or about their SEO agency and the quality of the work that they're doing. And you'll say, okay, well, can you show me a link report of what they've done for you? Oh no, they don't provide us with that, and they won't let us see. So wait, you're spending money, they're spending your money, obviously marked up for their work as well, to buy links and build links and do whatever, and you're not allowed to see what they've bought for you or built for you. I mean, that's horrifying. Like, you wouldn't go out and spend money at a shop. You wouldn't go out to, I don't know, Topshop and give them £500 and get them to get some clothes for you that you're not allowed to see or try on. I mean, just doesn't make any sense. So always get link reports. I mean, might not be able to get them weekly, depending on the way that it's structured, but at least get them monthly. And if you go through them and you see that they're really bad, well, then you can cut it off sooner rather than later, rather than it's gone on for a year and a half and all of a sudden you're penalised. If you're getting monthly reports, that's not going to happen to you quite as badly.
Absolutely. This is the old slide deck that we had up here. I've got a different slide deck that's actually got a link to the IAB site, where they have a checklist of things that you can ask your agency. So if you don't feel comfortable about asking them about a link report, you can say, well, you've got this checklist of stuff that you're going to ask them. You might as well use this opportunity to say, this isn't my checklist, it's some other person's list of questions that they think that I should be asking you. So you can pass the buck to someone else, or say, I saw this girl at this conference and she said to ask you this. I don't know why I'm asking it for you. You can blame somebody else, pass the buck if you need to, but do ask questions and do make sure that you're getting regular reports. And if you want the other slide deck with the link in it, just let me know and I'll email it off to you. So you can either email me, or you can just tweet me, or you can give me your card afterwards, or whatever, postcard.
And interesting with the link report, you probably want to do a little bit more research when you get your link report. I'm guessing you're going to agree. You're going to look at, for instance, who owns the domains that are linking to. Oftentimes hiring an amazing SEO agency is hiring an agency that owns a lot of good high-ranking sites and well-trusted sites. And then you have to look at what happens if you lose rank in the SERPs. Is that because one of the sites linking to you has gotten a penalty? And you could instantly find out if you've just hired a company who essentially just owns a bunch of high-ranking sites, and as soon as they have a problem, you have a problem, and therefore they're probably going to be useless for the next 6 months, 12 months, probably longer.
Yeah. I've had somebody who came in to ask me to help them because their SEO agency was basically holding them to ransom, saying, if you stop paying us monthly, you'll drop out of the rankings completely. So my job was to go in and create a strategy for them to implement in order to sort of overcome the instant drop that they would get once they fired their SEO agency and those inbound links from those link farms stopped coming.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great topic right now. In general, what do you do as soon as you fire agency and you lose the 300 links that he built for you for the last 3 years?
Probably go up, to be honest. If you're going to lose the 300 shitty paid links, you probably rise up in the SERPs.
Yeah.
If they've gotten 300 really good links that they can then turn off because it's a network, well, for the love of Christ, figure that out before you hire them, because that means they're never yours. You talk about renting links anyway. These links will be up for a year, and then they'll go. But that's different to somebody just turning off a network as soon as you decide not to work with them anymore. And there's been some companies in the US over the past 4 years or so who did that. And when I was working at the company I used to work for in America, we had a couple of people come to us and say, look, we're with XYZ company, and if we leave them, they're going to turn off our links. And you sort of think, well, okay, it's probably, if they built good links, it is going to hurt straight away. And it would be quite a long-term process to get back in. But, oh my goodness, check that they're not doing that before you hire them, because that's very, very difficult situation to be in.
Yeah. So, again, it's that red flag of the guarantee, the flat monthly fee for a guaranteed top placing. That's one of those red flags that could mean that they're just operating out of a link farm, and that they have a strong enough link farm that they feel that they can get anyone to the top for any term. And that's one of those red flags.
Here's an interesting question. We're talking about buying links. In your opinion, if most people buy a link for, say, a period of about a year, that's generally, I guess, what you would normally do. You'd go and say, okay, I want to, at least people that come to me to buy links, and we don't sell links, but people that come to my sites and say, listen, we have a good authority site. We want to, with a lot of age, and it's respected by Google. We want to buy a link and we want to buy it for a year, and we'll give you this much. Do you think Google's algorithm looks at how long a link is up? Because if you bought it for a year, clearly after 12 months on the dot, that link would be gone. Have you had experience where the algorithm actually looks at how long your link's been there, and if you have a whole bunch of links that fall off dead after 12 months, you get a penalty?
If you think about the way that the temporal factors can now be displayed visually, so remember that real-time search result for the URL, then adding link colon and then the URL, and that will show you how many links were built on what day at what time of the day. So yeah, Google's got this all in their database. Just because you can't see past this year doesn't mean Google can't. And so because Google can see back for years, and they can see whether or not a link goes up and is up for 12 months exactly and then goes down or not. And so not only can it see where the paid links are coming from, but it can also see what sites are buying links.
I've not seen this trend, but are people now buying links for odd number of days?
I've not been asked.
I'm not asking you if you buy links, but if you had a sister or someone that you knew who might buy a link,
so
would they be buying it for an odd number of days?
My friend who buys links and gets links bought off of them.
The one with the drinking problem.
Yes. Yes.
She loves chocolate and she drinks a lot. She's my friend.
I don't understand her at all. But if she must have some sites that are doing well because she gets asked to have links purchased on them, and not yet has this friend of mine been asked for an odd number of days or months or weeks
Neither of my
of
friends.
rental.
Yeah.
So many times, not to put too fine a point on it, even if a link is supposed to be there for a year, people don't remember to take it down or to rebill. And so a lot of the time I think things get left up or things get taken down sooner because people forget that they they sold this link, and then it's been up there for 6 months and somebody redesigns their site and it's gone. I think that that probably puts enough doubt out there that a lot of things don't end up there for exactly 12 months and then they're gone. So that would skew it.
Unless it was a link farm that the agency was building for you. Yeah, and because of that, because links don't go up immediately when you buy them, and because they don't come down exactly after 12 months, that enables it to look more natural when you're doing that sort of activity. So, yeah.
Any other questions for Judith before we go? I think she has a couple chocolates
I
left.
have more chocolate.
There's more chocolate. And I'd recommend
if you
to
don't
you.
want to ask on camera, you can always ask me afterwards, and I still have chocolate.
And Judith, for you, I'd recommend a place called the Chocolate Society in Victoria. Very, very good chocolate. Probably the best in London. Anyway, thank you very much, Judith.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for staying for the last session on the last day.